Cape Town to meet some members of SLED.
Hi. I'm Cara, and I'm the director of SLED. Meet my colleague.
Great. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
I'm Zoliswa, and this is my sign name. I'm a sign language facilitator and a poet.
Well done.
Her poetry is great. Let's meet my other colleagues.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Kirsty, the resource developer. This is my sign name. I help in different departments at SLED. Nice to meet you.
What does SLED stand for, and how long has the organization been around?
SLED is Sign Language, Education and Development. It was established in 2001.
What is SLED's vision?
SLED's vision is to see the deaf community in South Africa achieving their full potential.
How has SLED been contributing to deaf education till now?
In 2001, SLED started focusing on HIV/AIDS materials for life skills. We visited many schools and saw teachers lacked sign language skills. Then we focused more on teacher training to make sure their language skills improved. This was not easy. It took time for teachers to adjust and sign fluently. SLED also focused on learning material in order to read English and convert it into sign language. SLED is trying to develop learners with good literacy skills. There's a book with 4 different deaf characters we use for the learners. It's a great story. We have DVDs, books that focus on translating sign language into English. Then SLED realized schools weren't ready yet. They needed more focus on sign language first in order to start reading. You need knowledge of basic sign language. If both the teachers and learners can't sign, how can they learn to read and write? We put that project on hold because it was too early. That's how sign language CAPS training was established. We made sure the learning materials were in line with the project. SLED created sign language learning material for grades 1 to 3. Kirsty will explain more about the learning materials in the kit.
In SLED's resources for Grade R, what is the focus?
Grade R resources focus on children at school for the first time who need to learn basic sign language. We followed the CAPS training. We added lots of visuals. Abram and I do all the illustrations. the SLED team recruited others to sign stories and poetry for our DVDs. Yes, grade R's learn simple poetry. Give children access to information. We are aware that not all teachers sign fluently, but all the projects and DVDs help improve the teachers' skills.
How important is grade 1 in the education of a deaf learner, and how does SLED contribute?
For deaf children, grade 1 to 3 is very important because that's when they start learning how to analyze stories. It's important for children to watch and enjoy a story, but also to be able to understand and analyze it. The same happens with SASL poetry, which is very limited in South Africa because there's only poetry for adults, not for children. The poetry is designed for deaf children to watch and learn at the same time.
What challenges are there with developing material for grade 4?
We are focusing on grade 4 now. We look at all the work we did previously as we plan ahead for other grades. I think a challenge is making sure the material is South African. Homegrown would be best. However, it's important that we learn from experts all over. We've attended a poetry festival and we learnt a lot. The same with my colleague, Abram. He was invited to Sweden to receive expert advice. It's important for us to learn from the experts. Then we see how we can apply it here. I think another challenge is that we never study deaf literature. South Africa has sign language, poetry, and stories. It's important for the deaf to learn about SASL poetry, to know how SASL poetry differs from English. It's very different.
Is the Department of Education involved? If so, how?
The Department of Education does organizational training, but it's not enough. We noticed that both deaf and hearing teachers signed well, but never learned sign language in depth. For example, how to analyze poetry. So we decided to implement the training. We visit different schools, Some pay us, and for others, we raise funds for them to receive training.
What are your responsibilities here at SLED?
I'm a sign language facilitator for hearing teachers who teach deaf children. I have experience because in Nolotando School, I taught sign language to deaf children who couldn't sign. That's why I'm here. I love this job.
Tell us about your involvement in poetry.
I first brainstorm deaf education, then I compile lists of things that are very important, which is a lot of hard work. My colleagues and I confer, and I get feedback. I then go back to add and adjust as advised. That's when I film myself signing the poetry, which could take up to 3 to 4 weeks because I filmed myself more than once. When my colleagues are satisfied, then I do the final film. We have never met before. There were mountains, rivers, waterfalls, and streams. Both of us were in awe as we looked around.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'll meet you when I come to the SLED office in Gauteng.
That's
great. See you soon.
See you soon.
After the break, we visit the SLED office in Johannesburg. Please tell us about your role at SLED.
I have 2 roles at SLED. I'm an artist and a facilitator.
What feedback has been given regarding your illustrations and by whom?
The SLED CAPS Training and Development Project put a team together. Cara and Kirsty explain what I should draw via Skype. I sketch a first draft, then show them for feedback. Then a group of deaf people give their opinions of the illustrations. Then I go to all the schools to make sure the learners understand. I bring complaints back to the team and I make changes to the illustrations. It's not easy. It's very difficult, but it's an interesting challenge. At the sign language workshops, I make notes in the teacher guide and then make sure the illustrations match the signing content. As they were playing soccer, the ball missed the goal post. The crowd was disappointed. They continued playing and the other team's ball missed the goalpost as well. The crowd was disappointed. That was so close.
My name is Ayanda, and this is my sign name. I'm a sign language facilitator at SLED. I travel to different schools, educating the teachers. After providing teachers with the learning material kit, I make sure they understand the material properly and answer all their questions with my SLED team. I first read and understand the teacher guide. I change my role to the teacher, and the teachers become students. I use the teaching method in order for them to understand when they implement it in the classrooms. A branch of a tree grew bigger and bigger. Another branch on the tree grew. Here's an apple. Do you want one? Here you go.
What's your involvement in the SLED SASL CAPS Kit program?
The SLED CAPS Kit has two components. The first, for grade 4, is made up of level 4 learning materials, including generic questions. There's a DVD in the kit. After the class has watched it, we have a discussion and give opinions. The opinions of the learners are filmed. This is very important as learners get to ask questions, give their opinions, and learn strategic thinking. It makes them think instead of just sitting there, waiting for the teacher to spoon-feed them. It's extremely important for deaf learners to learn how to express themselves. They learn all about stories and how to analyze them. They also learn about poetry and compare similarities or differences between stories and poems. Grade 10 classes do similar work, but the learning material is made specifically for them.